First of all, welcome. We're here in the presence of a couple of filmic geniuses, and it's an honor to be here and interview them. I'm going to open by I have a quote from Jesse Plemons, who plays the lead actor, and he says, "I think why I enjoy working with Yorgos so much is that you watch his movies and some of it feels like it's not coming from a conscious brain. It's coming from something deep down in a collective psyche." So, sorry, I didn't have my glasses on. And I thought that was a pretty accurate quote because for those of you who are familiar with his films, they're pretty out there, really, and I appreciate that because in today's world, when we have original filmmakers who have a strong vision and are very artistic, these are people that are, gold, and we really need to appreciate them because there's so few of them out there. So I'm honored to be here. Before we get started, I have a few questions for both of them. One would be curious about the process of how you work together and your prep process. Do you storyboard? Do you shoot a lot of tests? Start with that.
I like to tell a story of when we did The Favourite. We'd meet for coffee every now and again. And I, tried to do the thing of like, okay, what are we going to do here and what are we going to do there? And by the end of the process, I had no clue what was going on still. So when we got on the first day of the set, I remember, luckily, you were shooting digital back then, and you had a little Leica camera. You'd come up and you'd show me a picture. You go,
I wasn't shooting digital. It's just the only time I did because I had that.
"Oh, get away with it." Okay, no, let me say it. No,
I had a very traumatic experience just before.
No, digital camera, the stills camera.
I know.
Okay.
That's why.
No, but what I'm saying is that I was able to see the frame you took, so I said, okay, and you're like, we'll start with this shot, and then I think, okay, I think I'm gonna maybe be all right, because you would show me stuff, and from there on, and it's much the same. But now you just use.
It was useful for the first time to use a digital camera and see what we're looking for.
Yeah. Why did you have it?
You find it like I did. I had just done The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Oh, that's right.
And I had that stupidly put all of my film in the luggage, under the plane, and I was shooting for days, and then developed, and everything was totally fogged, and
oh shit.
I had to figure it out. Then I bought some film from there and developed it, and it was fine. So it wasn't the cameras, and I was like, get me a fucking digital camera. But it lasted only for that, a year. Then, I threw them all away again.
You've got a lot of cameras.
Yeah. Film cameras.
I know.
And do you storyboard your movies, or?
Not at all, no.
We did Poor Things, and that was the funniest thing, because you were, okay, we should storyboard this sequence for the reanimation scene of Bella Baxter, and we got a Hungarian graphic artist to come in and sit down with us, and he was like, yes, and you were like telling him what you wanted, and maybe shoot this way and this angle, and he went away for about 2-3 days, wasn't it? Quite a while, actually. And then he brought back stuff, and you started obsessing on the fact that it wasn't the right angle, which is, he hadn't fully cottoned on. So I just realized,
point of doing it if
why
it's
is the
not
point
right?
of doing it? So we kind of stopped after that, but it was quite funny to watch.
I assume you go to the sets before you shoot and discuss things, or is that not how things?
Have you heard all these interviews about Yorgos? You basically get there and hope, I think you want to, as I like to think, everything's in place, ready to be maybe done whichever way you feel is the right way to do it. We can put that into action. That's sort of the way I feel about the process.
I mean, we do some tests beforehand.
Plenty of tests, yeah.
And there's,
which is great.
We kind of develop a little bit of a language, what kind of lenses we want to use, what kind of approach. After the first experience where I would just show you on a digital camera, then we started like testing a lot, figuring out what we want to do differently in each film. But it's not like short listing, or there's like a certain kind of rules. We come up with certain kind of rules. These lenses, the camera moves, it doesn't. It always needs to be anywhere else other than eye line, for example. Coming up with these things like this, and then each scene, have the actors come in, see what they're doing, and then decide how we're gonna shoot it.
So you bring them in, you rehearse with the actors, and then you discuss together with the script person how we're going to shoot this, basically. Okay. I have a question. Do you usually just shoot one camera?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part. I mean,
This one
sometimes
was a bit different.
Yeah, well, in Bugonia, how many have you seen the film?
Oh, good.
That's good. So there was some really long dialogue scenes where we thought it was going to be useful to have a second camera. So some of in a couple of scenes, some of the close-ups are 35 millimeter because there's this one camera that is relatively quiet, and all the other Vista Vision cameras are extremely loud. So we couldn't utilize a second Vista Vision camera. So there's some, usually we did the close-ups with a 35 a couple of times, and we only used 35 for a couple of shots on their car rigs, because there was, with each bump, I mean, we didn't want to put this one on the rig, so we put the loud ones, and then with each bump, we would hit, it would blow and stop, and
Yeah.
what was the problem?
The belts.
Did you know ever? The belts, yeah. So we shot a little bit of 35 for that, but we had our colors find out the percentage, and we shot 87% of the film on Vista Vision, and then the rest on 35 millimeter.
Yeah, I know that there's certain scenes like the dinner scene that are very intense, and you do something that is a little bit unusual. You'll frame the actors kind of in a profile talking to each other. And I know there was a thing with Emma and Jesse that was super intense. And I wondered if maybe just because they could react to each other so well, did you cover those profiles with two cameras, or was it always just one camera?
Yeah, it was two. Wasn't it?
That scene, for example, is a scene that we used two cameras, and then we tried to do the profile and 35 on the close-up, and then again with Jesse, Vista Vision and 35, so that they would kind of match as well, like the texture of it and depth of it. The similar shots would be shot from the similar camera.
On the set, do you prefer having a really small crew, or is it a large crew that's on the set, or how do you guys like to work?
I mean, there's a large crew outside.
Baying to get in, trying to get in, and being told stay out. Yeah.
But
very small footprint inside.
Yeah. But I mean, we managed to do that even when we made Poor Things, which is, everything is in a huge film studio. It's all film sets. There's, hundreds of lights and stuff. But we managed to light everything from outside and then just keep the set empty and just be, just the four necessary people on set. And especially on that one, because they had a lot of intimate scenes as well. Sometimes we wouldn't even have a boom operator in. We would just rig the booms, and it was just me, Robbie, Olga, the focus puller, and Haley, our AD. That's it.
Maybe
and Robbie would try and
push
the camera, the dolly, and fix the different angles, and it was just us. And then there was a huge studio outside with hundreds of people, crew just waiting around.
That's interesting because I work with Wes Anderson. It's the same thing. We usually have 5 or 6 people on set, and the rest of the people are behind the building or something. So it's a whole different dynamic. I wanted to ask you about shooting film and the Vista Vision. And when I was watching, I couldn't quite figure out your aspect ratio, so I had to look it up. And it's 1.50 to 1. Is that inherent in the Vista Vision
That's
camera?
the base for Vista Vision, yeah.
And what was your experience with the Vista Vision camera?
We're fond of it now. It was a bit of a kind of a tricky customer at the time, and we tested quite a bit with it and introduced it to the actors to see if they'd have a problem with it, and they felt that it was manageable, and it's got its technical issues, but essentially it had great results, so it was really worth the endeavor. It is only one of a kind, this particular camera, so if that went down, we were in quite a lot of trouble, and it kind of went down one day. and it was early on in the shoot, so everybody got a little bit anxious about that, as if it was going to be, like the biggest issue with it is sort of the time taken to reload it. So, we all had to kind of like take a little bit of a sort of slower pace to the shooting day, and usually you're like, all right, let's go, let's get this done and that done, but in this particular film, it's like, okay, let's go, okay, let's stop and let's just wait for a minute or 5 minutes and then we'll go again. Apparently they got it down to 3 minutes to reload, but it's usually 5 minutes. It's usually a cup of tea worth, I found.
And when you put up a fresh mag, how many minutes do you get off?
Well, this one is special again because it it has 2,000-foot magazines. So that there's one we brought in. I don't know. I'll show it to you.
Those are the ones we use, so
We
it
use
looks
these a lot,
tiny.
yeah. So like a big pizza, and also good for putting a cup of tea on. But
So it's 2 of those, by the way. One take up.
I was telling the story yesterday, but it's great in a lot of ways, but then taking the film out can be quite tricky. And did you hear that story about your hand?
It's 8 perf though, right?
Lazy 8 they call it, yes.
Lazy
so the
8.
camera's okay, so the basics are it's going through horizontally instead of vertically, and this mechanism's quite a lot of power in it, so it's really dragging it through quite fast, and because of that I feel that's why it maybe had a few issues, because it sort of is prone to maybe a little bit of a jam now and again. And
which direction was that? We
the pan. You can't
couldn't
pan
right fast.
There's a scene in the film where Jesse throws a chair across over Emily's. He just nearly hits her with his chair, and the camera's like, you love a whip pan, so I was like, this is the whip pan shot. And I went, literally, it didn't even get to the end of the whip pan. It just totally snapped and broke. Because if you think about it, the film's going in that way. So if you kind of if you're going against or like into it, it's sort of like making it jump. And we learned that lesson, didn't we? But we could whip pan to the left.
Yeah.
So it's left leaning camera.
Bottom line is she's gorgeous and she knows it. That's why she's temperamental. That's what Emma says. Like that's how Emma likes to describe her.
Damn right. Wilma.
I have a question. Do you really stick to the script when you're shooting, or is there improvisation? I read that that scene at the dinner table, Aiden improvised that one line where he says, "I have to go to the bathroom," and what it does when you're watching the film is it's this really intense film, and then all of a sudden there becomes kind of a humorous moment that happens there. And do you welcome actors to improvise, or do you make them stick pretty much to the script?
I mean, we do stick pretty much to the script, but when it makes sense, or sometimes to throw things out a little bit, which is always welcome, and have pleasant surprises and things like that, we do. And especially, I mean, just choosing to work with Aiden, who's never made a film before and he's autistic, was part of that. And I usually, in all of my films, I try and work with non-professional actors as well, and it creates this other kind of dynamic with trained, experienced actors anyway. So in a sense, it does throw things off a lot of the time. So you do that, and some of these things work, some don't, but even if they don't, it kind of informs the process and the scenes and how we do things. So I always welcome it. It's not like, don't say that, we're sticking to the script. Like we might say, maybe don't do it this time because it didn't really work, kind of thing. But yeah, we're open to accidents.
There's a fair amount of kind of aggressive fights in the scene, and I'm wondering if you used stunt doubles for Emma, or did she do her own? You could have fooled me. I mean, it looked like she was actually into all that.
I mean, she did quite a bit, but yeah, we did have stunt doubles for really hard falls, or in a wide shot or something. And
for her to rehearse, so the stunt double would do the rehearsal, and then Emma would
kind
of do what it was a good sort of
show her. I mean, they were all quite choreographed, so we had the stunt person to show her, and like, you know, he's afraid to do that thing where in the beginning when they kidnap her, he you know, jumps on her and they fall in the bushes and all that stuff. But you know, she did it like in the end, and it's like.
And I'm just curious, because we're here at Kodak, could you talk a little bit about shooting film as opposed to digital? I know in my experience, when we shoot film, it seems like the crew who's on set is paying much more attention to what's going on. And when we shoot digital, I look around the room and everybody's on their phones or doing, you know, and it's just, I think Vittorio Storaro, who's a famous cinematographer, once said that, you know, when you're shooting film, everybody is concentrating so much that somehow that magically gets onto the negative as well, you know, and do you feel that's true when you shoot film, that people, you know, there's a limited amount of time in the camera and, you know, there's a slate that slaps, you know, and so people are much more focused and pay much more attention to the film. Would you say that's true?
I think the producers are on their phone when you were shooting on film. Oh shit. But yeah, absolutely. I just think the quality is just so much more. You know, there's so much digital evolution that's gone on in the last 20 years, but for some reason everybody still seems to kind of like lean into watching films that have been shot on film and really get something out of them and glean something special out of them. So I you know, obviously digital is amazing and people can do a lot of stuff with it, but I think the simplicity and the kind of what you get out of just seeing the rushes come back from shooting on film makes you feel like you've got something like superpower, because it's so much nicer than watching digital rushes. Yeah. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah, no, I think it kind of permeates everyone on set, like the notion of we're shooting this on film, because it has become kind of a scarcity. Yeah, as Robbie says, I definitely prefer the result, but I also love the process. You know, the fact that, you know, you're filming something and then there's like a transformation. You're not looking at a monitor with a soap opera image on it, and you just watch, you know, a shitty image, and you need to kind of imagine what it will look like, and then, as Robbie said, it comes back and it's kind of beautiful, even if it's not, you know, the best it could be. It's still better than, you know, if you had like a. Well, I'm very against digital, if you can, as you can see, but
yeah, you're right. It's that kind of thing of being able to sort of move on quickly, knowing that that can be put to bed. That shot will be fine, and we're moving on now, because on digital you do tend to look at it and go, is that what we're getting? And that becomes like a slow process.
Yeah, and also then I've done a couple of films on digital out of need, like with 200,000 euros budget kind of thing. So we really couldn't afford it. And that, like, even the post-production process is so unpleasant to me. Like, you work with this image, like, first of all, during editing, it all looks shit. And then you're depressed all that time, and then you go to the grade where you're gonna finally fix the image, and it's like fixing it. Like, things like, can we add texture? Those highlights, could we make them a little bit not so? And like the faces, what can we do? And maybe put a little bit of grain so that. And instead of like, going through a creative process where you're going like, wow, we have an image and like we can go this way or the other way. It's like trying and make it something, like try and make it not so aggressively sharp. And yeah,
that's why you shoot a black and white film as well, because it looks so beautiful. Yeah.
So yeah, it's all the process. Like, and I go like, why would I go through this process and not like do a process that, every part of it like gives you something, creative to work with, instead of like starting from, like, how are we going to fix this? We'll fix it later. We'll add some grain,
Interesting. But I agree with you 100%.
That's at least 10 real free rolls of film for us.
I have one last question, and my question to each one of you is, when you were 10 years old, what did you want to be when you grew up?
You're a basketball.
Yeah, I guess my father was a basketball player, so I thought that I might do that. But I only did it until I was like 18, 19, and then I was like, well, maybe I'm not going to be that good. And yeah, just, yeah.
I don't remember what I was doing at 10.
Me neither. It was just an assumption. Right?
Yeah, but no, I remember when I was 15, I was 14, 15, we were making loads of short films, me and my cousins and my friends, and that was, what we did in the holidays, and couldn't wait enough time to get through to school to do another one. And my brother would write the scripts, and they were really like ridiculous. And we used to shoot in Super 8, and then I remember we went and we did a big budget one once where we got like forced perspective, airplanes blowing up and stuff like that, and we were really excited about it. And we'd found that the battery compartment on the Super 8 camera, there was no battery in it, so for the delight meter, so we put that in, and it was on auto. We got them because you send it off to Germany 3 weeks later. We're all sitting there waiting for it. Like, come on. It was all black, except you could see the explosion of the airplane because that was a little bit brighter. It was very depressing.
Do you still have any of those films?
I think so. Yeah, my cousin's really like quite. I don't know what the word is. He's very fastidious. He kind of stored everything, and he kind of now and again shows us a few of the films, and they're hilarious. Like really funny. Really funny.
Yeah, I used to shoot Super 8 as a kid, and you have to edit and cut your actual film when you're editing. And
we were like the one in the, we edited in camera, but then he got a VHS camera, and then that was like, wow, this opened up our minds because we could shoot so much stuff, and I think it all lost a bit of pizzazz then.
What I thought was interesting about it, how you set up Michelle's environment versus the environment of Teddy and Don. She lives in a very kind of cold, more sterile type environment with cooler tones. That one shot where she's wearing that mask, is kind of evil. It's often in wider shots. You do have the close-ups of her, but she's seen kind of from a distance oftentimes. Whereas with the two guys, Teddy and Don, it's warmer tones. It's a cluttered house. And again, I wrote down when Don says he feels they look silly. I thought, that got a good laugh from me when I saw it. And also, the music it really tells you a lot about how to feel about these people. When you see Michelle, it has this very kind of strong, creepy kind of music to it, and it really kind of sets it up pretty well. One question, just technically, is when they're running through the forest, was that a drone? Those high angles? Was that?
That was a tough day. Yeah. Well, I don't know. It was that was a Steadicam on the back of a truck that we basically were running out of every bit of time, and we tried to get things up into that pathway, and it was a bit of a scramble, to say the least. So we're lucky that shot exists. But then we used we were on you guys call them ATVs or ATV with a lever head and a Steadicam now and again, and some people driving the cars.
The Gator.
Yeah, that's it, the Gator. But yeah, no, we had the bow cam for that stuff. That would have been all on a remote head on a bow cam or a Steadicam on a bow cam, the AR rig.
We did one drone shot.
Oh, we did, of course.
235.
Yes.
Yeah, when he kills, well, for the ones you've seen.
Spoiler alert.
There's a murder happening. And there's a shot from high up that goes fast, and we put a 235 on that.
Okay, these are some questions that Focus has given me, which they were kind enough to do this.
You don't have to do that.
I will
unless
ask,
they're interesting to you.
Well, I will ask. Some of them I automatically crossed off already.
All right.
So,
good.
But they look quite long.
They are kind of long.
Yeah.
I'll try to give you
that's a lot
this
of
one
dialogue.
is for Robbie.
Okay, you go.
And it says
go.
these early, talking about training, these early scenes really define the contrast between the world Teddy and Don inhabit versus Michelle's. I did touch on that.
Which is exactly what you
I
said.
touched on. How did you and Yorgos approach highlighting this contrast to make these two spaces feel like they belong to the same universe, but came from totally different realities?
Whoa. It has more of a compliment in it than what you did. You know, like, how did you manage? You know, it's cold and warm.
I think
Blue
this
and
is
yellow. They complement each other.
This is where we can big up James Price, really, because it's just
Oh, you
his
can go
work.
that way? Yeah,
Yeah, I think we
yeah,
should.
sure, yeah.
Because the camera's not really doing anything different. It's just what's in front of it in the way we're filming it. And James's production design for
I
Teddy's
think a
house
lot
is
of it's
amazing.
by the production design, really,
Yeah.
you know, and also the lighting, obviously, but you know,
Yeah,
and
and the weather.
I'm not sure if I could keep asking these questions. Let me try one more. I'll try two more. For Yorgos, you love exploring physicality, and this is one of the few moments where you see Jesse's body language at peace before things change. What kind of direction do you give Jesse in a sequence like this where stillness and absurdity have to coexist? You can say I pass.
No, I mean, I didn't give him any direction. It was like, you know, he read the script. He had done a lot of work about the character himself. And generally, what I do with the actors is just let them do their thing, especially when it's someone that, you know, so talented and extraordinary. And I've worked with them before, so we have a shorthand. I just, you know, let them do the thing, see how they approach it. And if there's anything that I feel doesn't necessarily fit the world that we're creating, or if I'm not sure about something and I want to try something different just to be able to shape it in the editing room, you know, I do that. But like, these are incredible actors, so like I don't really say, oh, you have to do this now, because it's like, you know, the stillness before the storm. Which you can say afterwards, I guess. You can observe. I wouldn't have thought of that.
I thought it was interesting that, you know, when Michelle's coworker was in there, you kind of shot her as a profile, you know, and then we see Michelle's side where the eye line is much closer to camera. And I particularly liked that one high angle that you had towards the end, the close-up of Michelle. You know, it was an unusual shot, but it really made me feel a little bit uneasy, you know, and I think that was probably what we were going for. It's, again, the production design it is so much to kind of define her world, you know, and so looking towards Michelle, it was very kind of dark in the background, a lot of glass, overhead fluorescence, and it felt like a much more hard, cold environment. And when the coworker leaves, you know, it's kind of back there in a wide shot, and she walks back to the pretty empty office. And so it really kind of gave me the feeling of isolation and not a friendly environment. And I also like the wide shot at the end where she's leaving. And I feel like in some ways, by shooting things like that wide, it made me feel like I was kind of a fly on the wall, kind of observing this, as opposed to, you know, a lot of close-ups and things. And you only use the close-ups for those moments to accentuate those. And I think that was something that really appealed to me. So, okay, I'm going to go over these questions. This is kind of what I just said.
This is great.
The office sequence is so visual with the glass walls, reflections,
It's your questions.
and the cold
It's like
geometry.
ChatGPT versions of your questions.
I just got this morning before I left. They sent it to me, but I feel like I should ask it. Robbie, can you walk us through how you approach
Walking through what?
Can you walk us through how you approach shooting through glass without flattening the space?
Without smashing the door. That was a nervous moment getting through that door. Oh my god! Like, there's a lot of moments in the film where it was a bit. We had a semi-experienced script team that were, you know, working under a bit of pressure for themselves. But we had I think it was a Libra head on a Fisher 10. Going through that door with walking pace, and it's all glass doors either side. So I just had so much fear of her walking through a door. It's not in this sequence, but it's in the trailer. And I'm glad it didn't come to pass. That was a drama that was avoided. But what was the question?
Well,
How
but
did you shoot through glass?
Oh, how do we
without
shoot through glass?
flattening the
But you
space?
did have that at a low angle.
It's flattering again. It's like compliment.
Oh, nice.
Was the low angle so you wouldn't see everything reflected when she goes through the glass?
Have you not watched Yorgos Lanthimos films? There's a lot of low angles.
It's all low.
Which is
It's
always
low and high.
But that's why, the high one comes out of nowhere now and again. You're like,
Yeah.
what? So, the glass, it's again down to production design. We just were, letting James show us what he was going to do, and there's nice kind of plants behind the glass.
I saw the plant.
Yeah, nicely done, the plants.
Yeah, it was the one touch of
give a little bit of organic, oxalate helped. But we just did we go back twice to that place?
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah,
we had,
we had to blow it up.
Yeah, that's it. But it was a bit of a, like, ironically, the basement being a small environment and very kind of like, you imagine claustrophobic. I felt more claustrophobic in that building because the air conditioning was so life sucking, and you just couldn't get out. You'd be stuck there, and it was actually quite nauseous a space to be in. But from a shooting point of view, it served our purposes.
Okay, so that was obviously a location. Did you have to do much in the production design when you went in there? Did you?
Yeah, it was like a totally empty floor. So James had to like create the spaces, the meeting room, her office, then
the carpet,
cubicles, create some pathways with carpets and stuff. So yeah, he did quite a bit of work on that. It was like a shell, the space, and
so
then
you filled the space basically.
Yeah.
Where was that?
That was in
Slough.
England, in Slough. Yeah.
Town near the Heathrow Airport.
Oh, okay, great.
So we showed most of the film in England. We actually built the entire house in the country with the basement in. So the entire thing was built as a real house, just no plumbing. And yeah, then we shot exteriors in Atlanta here for the city stuff.
This is for Yorgos. There's something quietly sinister and hilarious about this scene. How do you direct Emma when a moment like this relies entirely on tone, where the words are absurd, but the performance has to stay straight?
Same answer. I don't tell her anything. I think it's it's a the script is so particular tonally. She gets it. She has an incredible, comedic timing. She understands tone. Like, we've worked together so many times. And again, my thing is to just tiny things in terms of pace or whatever, whenever it's needed. Sometimes it isn't, or sometimes it's just for variation. Yeah, again. So same. Yeah, they're great actors.
Did you shoot other coverage that you didn't use in the film, or was that do you shoot a lot of coverage when you shoot these scenes, or how does that work out?
No. I think we use most of what we shoot. We did shoot a chase scene that we cut out entirely of the film, which Andrew talked about the other day. They asked him,
talk about it?
Yeah, we did like a PGA Q&A, and they were like, "Which was the most challenging scene?" And Andrew goes like,
Andrew.
Yeah,
Oh,
Andrew,
God.
Andrew, the producer. He goes like, "Well, there was this scene that was shot in Atlanta and it was like very logistically extremely difficult. We had to shut down the highway and all that, and cars and the crash, and it didn't make it into the film." It was like, so that entire scene didn't make it into the film, but the coverage of scenes that are in there is there.
Did you shoot a close-up of the coworker? A frontal close-up of her?
No.
Okay, so you just said this is how we're going to do it. Great, I love it. I really love the wide angles, and like when you see the car pull in and they run up from behind the trees and they run after her, and just a slow dolly in, and it really made me feel like I was an observer there, and it wasn't covered greatly. I mean, these shots were, and the shot inside with the pool, I thought that was just fantastic, and the sound was a little bit muffled. and it was kind of comic in the way they were flailing around in the bushes in the background there, and you're not really sure what happens. And she breaks free. Then as she's running towards the camera across the lawn, all of a sudden you see the needle in her leg, and you know that they had stuck her with something, And so you're constantly discovering new information on each shot. But it wasn't covered like most people would cover that type of a thing, and a lot of it's in the wider shots, which I think really made me feel that I was participating and I was hiding somewhere to see it. And that was something that I really enjoyed. Yorgos, how did you, Jesse, Emma, and Aiden build the rhythm of that moment?
Everything was rehearsed. I think with the stunt people, I explained to them early on that I wanted to, not do the typical thing of like create a fight sequence where I would have to go like cut from one side and then the other side, and then so that it felt impactful. So they rehearsed it a lot, and I would go there and adjust things, and especially when we knew where we're gonna shoot it and approximately how, we would tweak things. And then we had actually that was one of the first few days of the shoot that we did that scene, and we did have a bit of time for that. Like we kind of rehearsed the previous day, and then we shot it the next day. So it was just, rehearsing it. And then again, they take over and like just, I remember being on set and just seeing Aiden running behind the car the way he did. And I go like, this is going to be great. And so it's, then, they take over and it just becomes this other thing. And
they were exhausted doing that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of physicality.
Because, they did a lot of rehearsals before we shot it. We shot it a few times so that
I remember
everything
like they were
worked.
just both sitting down really tired. Yeah.
At one point, we lost her shoe because as she throws them away, it went up to the roof, and we're looking for her heel to get it. And
yeah, it was really well choreographed, and
we did cover it a bit as well.
There's a couple of shots,
but the shots.
There was an edit which I didn't use those shots at all, but in the end, it felt like more that you're trying too much to go like I did it in one take, kind of thing. And then I like that it feels like that, but you break it a couple of times, and it's like I find it more interesting. For even formally and more effective in terms of what's happening. Yeah, to not just do it for the sake of saying we managed to do it in one,
And like I've been saying, just the fact that they stayed from a distance with those wide lenses really added to me feeling like I was almost participating in this, which was really nice.
For us, these are kind of normal lenses.
That was tight.
The stuff that we've done in other films, these were like
you're straining yourself.
Our standard.
Robbie, could you talk about that one low-angle shot in the car? And did you use the Vista Vision camera?
Actually, these are two of the few Vista Vision
That's
car
the-
shots that
the front-
made it
the
into
front
the
shot,
film.
yeah,
The
that-
front
that-
and the inside one.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. They didn't break down, so we have a couple of shots of the car as well.
That was the first week as well, and it was
Yeah.
raining. We had a whole day of rain, and it was just really sluggish to get that sort of whole sequence done. And we ended up going back to do it again, I think. And there was a lot of issues, but that's right. We kind of gave up on the Vista Visions after that sequence in the car because it's a tight space and they're wide, and so it was an executive decision to maybe do that, but they do look nice.
Did you take the door off to get the camera in there?
No, I don't think so. The seats came out. Yeah,
Seat came out.
It's a big car, the
Yeah,
G-Wagon.
Okay.
Except the back seats are pretty tight. That was a small space.
Okay.
They made that small.
And this was a question for Robbie again. Says, you mentioned James Price made the doorways a bit wider to fit the Vista Vision camera.
How did they know that you mentioned that?
I don't know. Is that like news just in? I think I said it a couple
I just
of
got
times.
this morning.
Did they?
They've been.
Oh, but you just said it. This is spooky.
Whoa! Oh my God!
So is that something that you did, that you had to make the doorways wider?
He built it with. We knew that we were shooting Vista Vision, and I think he'd seen the camera. And Lily, his art director, was coming up like measuring the camera and going, "Okay, I think it's this wide." And then they compared it to the doors, so they decided to open the doors up a little bit. I think.
Okay.
They forgot to make the stairway down into the basement a bit easier to get down, though, because I just look back at the film, going, "If we only had a shot where we could have gone down, but the cameras are so big, and so like it goes down and it goes really round the corner, so it was tight for them to get down there, and that was always a bit like." Is this downstairs? And we all knew it was downstairs, but sometimes it was hard to see.
Can you put this camera in a Steadicam?
No.
I didn't think so.
Oh, don't they say they could do IMAX on a Steadicam? Is that right? So this could go on a Steadicam.
If you really wanted it, no.
But if an IMAX is the same weight.
This is actually heavier.
Okay, it's heavier.
Yeah.
All right.
And not only that, but
It's ungainly, yeah.
texture.
Yeah.
You get the bow cam on a Steadicam.
You do.
That's enough.
Yeah.
These interrogation scenes are all amazing. The actors are phenomenal, is all I can say for those of you who haven't seen this. Question, did you build that basement? Because it's amazing.
Yeah, no, we built the entire house as a house. So the basement was downstairs, yeah. It allowed us to also kind of shoot chronologically, so we could go, day by day, go like, okay, today would be the scenes upstairs that they do, and then they go downstairs, so we can go downstairs, and then next day we can go back upstairs. So it was very helpful for the actors, but for ourselves as well, because figuring out what you've shot before and how you've shot that, how to like make something different for the next scene and how they relate to each other. It's easier to like than trying to imagine like shooting completely out of sequence, how things are going to fall into place. So yeah, James built the entire house in the countryside in England and brought in like telegraph poles and
he pretty much lit it for us as well.
yeah, and we put in a lot of lights and the other thing is like, which helped again the actors a lot and ourselves, is like the detail in the house. Like there was stuff inside the drawers and inside like bowls and cupboards, and the actors would go around and open something and there were like stuff in there, not just like fill it up with something, like there was an idea behind it of what Daddy would have done or something from his mother or whatever. So it was like an extremely detailed set, which you'd never really get to see, but what you get to see mostly behind the characters. We never had to worry about like, oh, maybe not see this side, like just see that part, which is better. Like the entire thing was like extreme, like that house was there for years.
Yeah, I thought the basement was one of my favorite sets. Really, it was so beautifully done, and the lighting had a kind of a greenish quality, and there's like the greens and the tans and the colors that we've chosen.
Yeah, we tested a lot of lights before James chose the fluorescent lights, and then we had found this nice tungsten sort of work light that was actually a film light, but was created quite a hard shadow and bright light and quite warm. So that is in a lot of the early stuff, and it's basically using all the things you would find in the basement, which I really like.
I wonder, do you ever after you edit a scene, go back and do pickups on it, or has that ever happened? Which happens in a lot of movies that I work on. So
rarely.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the times we don't have the chance to do it. Like we had to move on, and it's hard to go back. But again, like in this situation, I don't remember if we like really did something, but maybe since we were shooting in the basement, maybe we go like, oh, you know what, we did that scene, maybe we didn't get to do that close up of something. Since we're here, why don't we, do that? But like it's rare, and for a time I was thinking of doing some pickup shots, like I was editing and I wasn't like really satisfied, but yeah, in the end we just made it work, and it felt even better than going back and reshooting something. Yeah. So no, we didn't.
Yeah, and we were in the same location for 5 weeks, so it was always possible to maybe, if you had to pick something up, it was we weren't going back to another location.
It didn't bother me, but I noticed that Don, the only time you see him is kind of in the background, out of focus on Michelle's shots, and I watching it this time, which I've watched these clips several times. I thought, oh, he kind of gets lost back there, but it really is between Teddy and Michelle, really, and that's where the focus of everything goes. Let me see about their questions. Yorgos, this is a perfect example of how you use stillness as a form of comedy and horror. How much of that rhythm comes from you in blocking, and how much from Emma and Jesse's instincts once they're in the room?
Well, as I mentioned before, I do try and let them bring whatever it is that they were thinking about, their characters or the scene. I might suggest, maybe this time you're sitting and this time you're standing. They'll try it out. If something doesn't feel right to them, they'll say it. So it's very collaborative. And when we decide how that's going, but we don't spend too much time. Like, we just want to get going and shoot something. And if we see that it's not working while we're shooting it, we might change it on the spot. Like, go like, you know what, like this standing thing, like it doesn't really make sense, and let's do it again, with you sitting, for example. So it's very organic. It's like involves the actors a lot, and me and Robbie are in the room, and as we said before, it's just us, and we can change things around very quickly. Just change the position of the camera or the lens or whatever, and do it again. We don't have any lights to move around on set. We don't have anything else. So it's quick to. That's why I love doing it this way as well. Other than the fact that I prefer how things look a little bit rough, I prefer the fact that you have this freedom of just going like, oh, let's put the camera here. Oh no, we put it there, or with I don't know. Like, maybe you do it standing now, and we throw that away that we just did, and it's like just moving the camera around, changing the actors, and no one else involved. And it's quick and it's organic to figure it out.
Okay, well, I just want to say that basement is one of my favorite sets I've ever seen. It's just so beautiful, and what you don't see, you feel, I think, and I think that was a testament to you guys and your production designer as well. We still have a few minutes, so we're going to open this up for questions.
Hi, I'm Destiny. Love the film. I love this collaboration. I've only seen it once. I will see it again. But I found myself with this. I love, like Rob, you said earlier, this unease, but that unease was quickly melted away into humor. I guess my question in this is, how much intention was put into that design, or was that something that organically was found with those performances that you allow the actors to bring in your editing?
Well, I think it's a combination of all these things, and that's why it feels so collaborative, and I love it being collaborative, and that's why we work with some of the same people again and again, because it creates this trust. It creates a shorthand. You can rely on other people to take care of something, and then you focus on something else. So yeah, it's all of those things. I think for me the most important thing is the actors. Like, just make sure that that's working, not limit them, with, oh, I would like the shot to be this way, and, I don't like it. So, make them do something that's, unless it's like something very specific and technical that we have to achieve, the rest of it, I prefer to take the lead from them, and then figure out how I can make it, fit into the world and the atmosphere and all of those things that you're describing. And then editing is quite a bit of a, process as well, kind of rediscovering the film. Although we don't do that much coverage, like, it's not like we have all the choices in the world. The pace of it, or what you choose to not include, or the length of a shot that you decide to keep, or what I said before, like, we kind of did the kidnapping in one shot, but like, we did a couple of shots that we might have needed. And then in the editing room, I realized that, the one thing felt a little bit too self-conscious. So I love to break it up. Like it's like a very collaborative, very, organic kind of process. I don't really know exactly how the film is going to turn out. I hope for the best. Like it's, we work hard in every part of the process to do, whatever the thing is right for the film. And it always becomes something else than what you thought it would be. Not necessarily a million miles away, but like it's its own thing. It's a lot. And I like allowing it to be that. Like I don't want to, control things so much that it becomes, like clinical or whatever. Like accidents, improvisation, as mentioned before, that works. A lot of times it doesn't, but like you have to allow it to happen so that it works at one point. Like all of these things coming together, and hopefully
Like the scene with the camera where it became a bit apparent.
Oh yeah, and what you mentioned, like, do I see this protective shield? That was the Vista Vision going a little bit crazy.
And
Skidding. And
something that wasn't meant to be happening, Yorgos incorporated in his attention of Donnie's character, and it kind of works very nicely.
yeah, so it it felt for that moment like it worked, and actually they removed it in post. And I was like, where are the what happened? And go like, oh, we got rid of it. I go like, no, bring it back, and we'll also add some sound on it to make it even more present. And John. So Johnny.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant.
We went with Johnny and like tried to figure out this like subtle sound that these things would make, and it's an accident, but like you if it makes sense, you use it.
Scotty Fraser, this is kind of more for Robbie. Your gaffer, you said that the production designer had built the house minus the plumbing. Yes.
There was no plumbing.
They put gas in.
Well, they did a little bit of
They
plumbing.
put-
You can
yeah.
go to the toilet, let's say.
So the
The
was
tap,
a big
the
toilet as
tap
well.
would
everybody was using the
Yeah.
holler outside.
Exactly.
So the lighting, what type of lights were you utilizing for the basement? And you had said that you had quick movement with the actors, being able to be like, hey, let's put them here, let's try it this way. In regards to resetting stuff, did you have to reset lights during that? Allow the gaffer and the team to come in and do that? Or was it something that it was already lit in a way that you could go wherever you needed to go?
Yeah, Johnny the gaffer was I think he's a very talented gaffer, and he was one of the few that was sort of stay outside as well. So he was always a bit like trying to get in, and his best boy would have the dimming desk on his iPad and all that. But essentially everything was in place in situ, and we didn't have any other lights on set at all. And there would be a bit of a dimming up and down of certain sort of fluorescent lamps that were able to be controlled. But it was not in any way any other film lights brought in. We had a couple of lights outside when it got really dark up in the main house, because the main house was actually quite a big space, and in a way the light didn't get into the middle of the room, so that was always a bit scary. But luckily it was quite nice. The summer got a bit better, so the weather came in a bit more light. The funny thing was, though, he had quite a difficult job, because this camera works at American a 144 degree shutter. It's set at that, which means that all of a sudden we realized that the lights would all flicker really crazily if it was on UK power. So we had to get another generator in just to power the fluorescence to the right thing for this camera. So that was a bit of a faff. And they wired the whole house for lights, which was a kind of like amazing undertaking. You forget how much work that is, like the wiring. And they put all the wires into a shed next to us that you couldn't see. But if you open that door, it was just like a hive of like electronics, and like what the hell's going on there?
Wired 220, right?
Yeah, this is what this camera is. So we had to have a kind of a 60 hertz generator that could flip to a 50 hertz. I don't know. It got complicated. And so he did have a bit of work, and he had a lovely moonlight. Do you remember that thing? He had this weird crane that I didn't ask him to do, but he just built it anyway. Had a crane with a scaff tube rig that like looked like a moon, and then he put silk over that, and we used that a little bit. But you were a little bit like, what's that?
Did I have a question? Did your gaffer, because they weren't on the set, did they have a monitor or anything in case you had to do dimming within?
He
the
did
shot?
get on the set. He made sure he snuck
Okay.
in there. Like it was a way. He's like, Johnny,
Yeah.
you don't need to be here. It's okay. Relax. And he was like, he's still there. Okay. And the best boy was there as well. So that was a little bit like
Yeah.
he just wanted to be there, which is fine. But I hadn't worked with him before to tell him to maybe pull back a bit.
Hey Robbie, hey Yorgos. My name is Meg. Yorgos, your visual language, all your films have such a distinct visual style, and it owes a lot to your slow zooms and the crazy wide sort of lenses. So I'm just wondering, with Bugonia, what was the sort of decision to steer away from the zooms, from that the wide lens sort of language that's set up in Poor Things, Kinds of Kindness, and like the rules that you mentioned with how you all go about setting this visual language, if you all can share some of those rules.
Yeah, I think, you know, we reached a point after Poor Things, you know, when we went, you know, where we wanted to go with that kind of thing, and it kind of felt right for, you know, the material and what we were trying to do. And then when we made Kinds of Kindness, I think we kind of, you know, did that kind of differently. We use anamorphic lenses, and you know, there aren't any zooms.
There's not many wide angle.
Yeah, there's not a lot of wide angle. I guess there's like the curvature of the anamorphic that might seem like a little bit more wide. So that we did differently as well. And on this one, figuring out that we could actually shoot on Vista Vision, because we actually shot a little bit of Vista Vision on Poor Things, just one scene, the reanimation scene. So from that moment, we were actually trying to figure out a way of shooting an entire film on Vista Vision. When, you know, this camera came along, which is quieter than the cameras, the other cameras that are around. Hmm? Yeah, roll it.
Is this one? I can't hear without aircon.
It's really quiet.
Oh shit!
Anyway, our sound designer has a lot of problem with his sound. No, it was also the fact that we were in a basement and like the ceiling was really low and like
It was coming up with like echo. Like
Yeah,
what was that? That was a bit of a weird.
it amplified the sound. But anyway, it's pretty quiet as you could not have hear. Was there film in it?
I was going to say, is there film in it right now?
To be fair, they have laced it up with film. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, what was it? Oh, yeah. So when we discovered the camera that we could shoot the entire film on Vista Vision, you know, that comes with its own commitment. Like it was going to be huge. We're in the small spaces, so that meant that we were not going to be moving it around much. You know, that was interesting in terms of like, oh, whenever there's movement, it's going to be more noticeable, and we can do, you know, like create some kind of juxtaposition. Like as we saw the kidnapping scene, there's a lot of, you know, movement with that and wide shots. But, you know, when we were in the basement in the house, I think we decided that, you know, the larger format kind of felt great for, you know, creating this kind of portraiture of the characters, like almost like medium format photography portraiture. And because it's a film that is really focused on, you know, this confrontation and, you know, this conflict of these people, it just made sense that, you know, we would concentrate on, you know, filming it that way. And we wouldn't necessarily want to see the entire space all the time, and, you know, use the wider lenses less. Yeah, so less movement.
And then there's also the macro world of the bees in a way. So kind of went into a macro world, and then at the end kind of goes into a maximum world of the universe. So I think it's a fair middle ground that all these close-ups were sort of the bit in between. And like, yeah, they're the portraiture of the Vista Vision is sort of one of its sort of best attributes, and it, you know, on a big scale it can do a good image, but on a tight sort of close up it sort of really outperforms other formats.
And it's very quiet.
And very quiet. Why didn't we just put a microphone on it with Johnny?
Crazy might be a crazy question, but you made a crazy film, so you deserve it. Weird experiencing this film last night because not long ago we went to buy jewelry from this designer, who was very nice. We're building a relationship with them, and then all of a sudden they started telling us that they're partly related to aliens. This actually happened to us. And that their wife was partly related to aliens, and they have some alien trauma, and this is real. And so when I watched this film, I kept thinking about them the whole time. And I kept thinking, maybe they were right. And then I was thinking, when you're approaching this movie, and you're working with your heads of department, you're working with your cast, you're working with your crew, do you approach, because your stories are crazy, do you approach your story like, hey, this is a story that is really out there, but I think it holds themes that are true, that it's important? Or do you approach this story like, this is a reality and this could be true?
I'm not sure there's a difference, to be honest. Like, you make stories, some of them are extremely fictional or fantastical or, very realistic or whatever, but if they don't somehow, have a dialogue, to use some of the language of the film, with reality, then there's no connection. So it doesn't matter the approach you have, how real it seems or not. The essence of it, and the characters in it and their dynamics and the story itself certainly speaks to a certain level to reality. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. If you're asking more specifically if I think that there are aliens, amongst us, I mean, I wouldn't rule it out completely. I don't know if they have, human form, but I mean, how can you, like, in this, vast universe, say that, oh, it's just us,
Hi, my name is Eloisa. I have a question more about the music, the scoring choice. There's this one scene where Jesse's coming back from the bees into the house, and it feels like this ordinary moment, but the music is just so grandiose. What's your relationship like when you're scoring the movie and edit? And like, what are you, specifically with this one, what were you going for?
Well, I mean, the process that we follow with Jerskin, the composer of the film, is, and especially on this film, might seem strange to some people, but precisely because I want to create these moments like the one you're describing, I didn't let him read the script before he composed the music, so I only gave him a few keywords, which were bees, basement, spaceship, and Emma Bold. And I went like, okay, you go write the music for the film and see you when you have something. Which is kind of the way we worked before. Like, he always composes the music before we shot anything. Like the 3 films that we've done together, Poor Things, Kinds of Kindness, and this one. He always composes the music before, but the prior 2 films, he had read the script, he had seen some visuals, not of the film, like visuals, like references and where we would shoot and the locations, not actual images that we filmed. I try to keep him away from that until he has the music, and then I take the music and I use it in the edit room. And sometimes I have to chop it up pretty, badly in order to fit, the duration and all that stuff. And that's only when I show him the film. And then he, whatever is not perfectly edited, he takes it and like makes it right. But all of the music has been composed beforehand. And I think it's an advantage in a sense of like I always found music so limiting in films, like doing the same thing that the scene is doing and telling you how you want to feel or whatever. So what you brought up is a perfect example of how I enjoy using music in a film. Like, there's this like beautiful grandiose thing, and he's just there with his bees and walking back, and that, like putting these things together, this juxtaposition creates this other tone which you wouldn't even know how to explain to him, like, or I didn't even know that I would have the idea of using that piece of music in that moment. So when I have it and I have the scene, I go like, why don't I try that on that? And it's kind of the same piece when he's going to work the first time and the cop stops him. It's again that music. So it's the music like going to work, coming back from work in a sense, but like it's huge. So what we do is like he composes music, I give him feedback, which is like what I imagine we will need without really knowing myself. And I also told him go big, like think of an orchestra, let's just like make it big, don't hold back. Because again, I knew that I wanted to juxtapose this like very claustrophobic environment, 3 characters, tight spaces with music that was like big and would bring this other dimension to the film whenever it was needed. And as he himself admits, like if he knew what the film was, he wouldn't have gone down this direction. But it's the only way I've found how to use music on film. I have to have it before, like I have to have my library of music and then try to find the exact tone that I think each scene or the entire film needs, according to my perception of it. But yeah,
It's pretty amazing soundtrack.
I just want to thank you all so much for being here.
Thank
This
you.
audience was very quick with their fingers because we put these tickets on sale and it was sold out within like minutes.
Yeah.
So I commend you all for being on top of your computers. And Yorgos, thank you for being here. Robbie, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Bob, I hope you'll come back. We need a separate conversation with Bob about his work, but thank you all.